How's it going, everybody? BurntBrian here, and welcome back to another Tall Can Tuesday. In this video series, I like to give you updates on my life and the future of the channel, talk about random topics, and answer questions submitted by you, the fine viewers of this channel, and of course, drink some good beer. And coincidentally, today's beer happens to relate to one of the questions I'm going to be answering in just a few minutes. But this one comes from Omegang Brewery, and Omegang is known for having really creative beers. At least I know them as being that. Like when I see a lot of the beers in the craft beer store, their selection is always very diverse, and it's of weird, or I shouldn't say weird, just really interesting ingredients. But anyway, this is their Game of Thrones Take the Black Stout, and take a look at the label on that. Really dark, kind of hard to see. But on the side here it says, a stout as dark as the winters that once engulfed Westeros, as robust as the men who swear their oaths at the weirwood tree. Chocolate and caramel sweetness are balanced by hop bitterness, roasty, woodsy notes, and an earthy finish. Pour slowly, do not disturb yeast sediment, but with vigor to make a luxurious head and free the bouquet. And this is part of the Duvel family of fine Belgian ales. HBO officially licensed product, so that's cool. And this one comes in at 7% per volume. So yeah, really cool. I'm not going to read the other side because I think that just has to do with, you know, all Omegang beers in general. But I like these bottles in particular. They're always pretty cool, make you feel a little fancy, like you're drinking some champagne. So let's go ahead and pop the top there. Ooh, nice smelling beer. Alright, go ahead and take a look at the pour here. It says to pour gently. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Really nice looking, exactly what it says, and this is just what I would expect from a stout like this. Really dark, can't see through it. It actually has a nice dark head to it as well, so that's good. Smells really good. You can pick up the anise in there, the licorice-like aromas, which I'm not a big fan of black licorice in general, but when it's in this form in the beers, it's doable. I can take it, but anyway. Yeah, really good. Smooth, easy drinking, thick, strong. Kind of has a little bit of a bitter aftertaste. Anyway, pretty decent beer, I guess. Since I cracked this open, I'll probably go ahead and start. I only have 2 questions to go through, and we'll probably make this video a little bit shorter than most of my other ones. I know they normally go on anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, so I'll try to keep this under 20 minutes if possible. But the first question I got is from Flintquit. She's always been watching a lot of my videos, and thanks a lot for all the support. He asked, do you watch any TV, and if so, what are your favorite shows? Well, since I popped this bottle open, I'll start with that one and say Game of Thrones is probably one of my favorite shows. Again, I don't really watch any regular TV like primetime television, none of the national networks, or even really any local news stations or anything. For the most part, most of my viewing is on Netflix or HBO Go, or you know, maybe some Hulu from time to time, but really I just kind of focus on the other two, and then I mostly watch YouTube stuff. But Game of Thrones, at first I started watching that show, I really didn't like it. It was maybe 3 episodes or 2 or 3 episodes in. It just seemed really boring. It was going slow, and you know, well, here, let me go ahead and take a sip and just say, I'm going to throw up a little spoiler alert here too if you ever plan to watch Game of Thrones. So you're going to have a couple seconds to click away if that's what you want to do. Okay, so actually, like I said, I really had no intention of watching the show. I thought it was kind of stupid at first, and it seemed really weird. There's the incest thing going on with the brother, with Jamie and his sister. But you know, I don't know. My boss actually at work showed me a scene from many seasons later where you know, this guy named the Mountain ends up grabbing the prince from Dunfar, I think. I can't remember the name, but anyway, he just grabs this guy's head and, you know, blows it up with his bare hands, just squeezes until his head explodes. And And I was like, okay, yeah, I guess I do need to go back and start watching some of these episodes, because that was pretty awesome. And it was a cool fight scene between the two of them. But, so yeah, I started watching all of them, and over the course of 7 days and 1 week, I blew through all 50-something or 60-something hours worth of that show. So it was like almost 3 days worth of straight, steady television watching. I think it was like 3 days. But I loved it. I thought it was a really awesome show. Now I'm hooked, and I'm sitting here waiting for the next one to come out, and it just sucks because, you know, man, I don't know. It's going to be like another 2 months. I think it's April it's coming out. It's 2-3 months, something like that. But anyway, I'm definitely excited about that one. Other shows that I do watch that would be more mainstream, I guess, would be like Comedy Central. Always watched South Park. Still to this day, one of my favorite shows. Those guys are genius. Let's see. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is another one of my favorite shows. Some people don't like it. They think the acting's horrible or whatever. I think it's hilarious. Danny DeVito has a great character in it. All of the cast. I mean, Charlie is just a nut. You know, it's just such a fun show to watch. And in one of the last episodes where they were talking about cream pies, it's probably one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time. Definitely really, really good. I really liked Daredevil on Netflix. I think that's a really awesome show. And there's a couple ones that I'm looking forward to on Netflix and HBO. I think for HBO, I'm looking forward to Westworld when that comes out. If you haven't seen it, there's a classic movie called Westworld starring Yul Brynner. And it's just a super cool show about kind of robots and a fantasy world where when you go on vacation, you would go to, you know, whether it was Westworld, it would be Wild West, or you could go to Rome, and you could go to, I think, medieval times, so you could be a knight or a king or whatever. So that was really cool. And I guess they're making an HBO show, and the little trailer teaser thing they put out looked pretty awesome. So I'm really looking forward to that. And really, the only other show that I can think of right off the top of my head would be Trailer Park Boys. I mean, I've watched every season of that show forward and backward. I mean, I love it. I think it's hilarious. Even the new stuff that they did on Netflix, and I've seen all their stand-ups and stuff. Really funny guys, funny group of people. And now they're with something called SwearNet, I guess, where they're able to, I think it's their own network, where they're able to cuss a lot more and say all the things without fear of censorship from the FCC or whatever. What else? American Horror Story is awesome. Things like that. Again, I really don't watch any mainstream television shows. Thankfully, I don't have to suffer through commercials, so that's good. But anyway, thanks for the question, man. Cheers. So next up, or the only other question I have, comes from CB Fall. He's another viewer of mine that's been really following along well and sharing all my stuff. So thank you so much. I appreciate it, Craig. His question is, who are my favorite chefs? Well, I can tell you right off the bat, my most favorite chef is Anthony Bourdain. I think he's probably just the coolest dude out there and the most real chef. You know, he lived the life, I guess, that I lived in a sense. I mean, I didn't, go through CIN and do the Culinary Institute and all the stuff that he went through, but one book that I recommend to anybody who wants to know what it's like working in a kitchen, pick up Kitchen Confidential from Anthony. It's just such an awesome book. He breaks it all down there to the things that, you can understand, and as a customer or somebody who goes out to eat at restaurants, maybe you'll be better prepared to do so if you want the freshest, best kind of foods. Like, he gives away a lot of secrets and myths, like when it comes to cooking steaks. If you go out and order a well-done steak at any respected restaurant or steakhouse, what you're going to get is the oldest, driest piece of meat that they have in their fridge, and they're just going to torch the shit out of it and give it to you. Reason being is, when you cook a steak to well done, even medium well, when you're getting to that point, you've cooked out all the flavor anyway, and you're not going to notice the difference between a really a juicy, amazing raw steak or a medium rare versus that well done. I mean, there's no way you're going to tell whether that was a fresh steak that was just cut today or if it's one that's been sitting in the fridge for a week and a half, just kind of almost on the verge of turning green. And that's just the truth. That's what's going to happen when you order a steak at that kind of temp, like I say, at any respectable restaurant. Now, Other things that he gives away are really simple secrets. Like anytime you go to a restaurant, some people would wonder, man, how come it always tastes so much better when I go to a restaurant? The food doesn't taste as good as home. Well, a lot of times people, when they cook at home, they'll use margarine instead of real butter. You have to get that real butter. I always like the unsalted butter, just straight real butter. And actually, a lot of people were eating margarine because our wonderful people at the FDA and scientists tried to tell us that real butter was so bad for you and that it would clog your arteries and all this. And now they're finding out, oh no, we were wrong. Real butter is the way to go, and that margarine stuff is horrible. You know, when insects won't even eat it, you know there's something wrong with the product. Other little tips and tricks, you know, a lot of times when you're at home, you'll probably use a standard, you know, salt and pepper shaker, just regular already crushed pepper. Really, that's, you know, not the way to go. Your ideal way, if you want to make your food just a little bit better, buy kosher salt for one thing, sea salt, and pick up yourself a thing of peppercorns. It's super easy, and you only have to do it once every like couple weeks, a month, or whatever. Just buy your peppercorns, put them on a metal tray, bake them in the oven at like 300 or anywhere from 250 to 350, however you want to do it, lower for longer or shorter, and just check it every once in a while. And when they're cooked for 10-20 minutes, pull those things out, throw them in a coffee grinder if you want. You can have a dedicated little handheld coffee grinder and grind those things down. Or what we used to do would be to take a skillet, like a 7-inch or 9-inch skillet, and you would just kind of put it down on your cutting board and just use it to roll until you sit there and crush your peppercorns. You can crush them however you want with a rolling pin, any of that stuff. But those are little tips and tricks to kind of like make your dining at home a little better. Those are the simple things. Using real EVO, extra virgin olive oil, instead of using some of these other, you know, like vegetable oil. Don't ever use that for cooking your vegetables. You know, let's see, what else? What else is there? You know, like if you're going to go out and eat fish, know that most of the time fresh fish comes into the restaurants on a Wednesday or Thursday, usually on a Thursday, so that way Friday night they've got their special ready to go. And, you know, if it's a big fish special, most of the time, most of these good restaurants anyway are going to get their fish never frozen. It's going to be fresh. And so they're going to use it on a Friday night and on a Saturday night for their specials and their push. And when you come in on Sunday, you're already looking at 3-day-old fish that's been sitting in the cooler. And by, you know, Monday, between Sunday and Monday, cooks, you'll see them running some sort of special using that particular fish or whatever that ingredient is. And it's funny to see, you know, those little tips and tricks. You know, if you want to get it fresh, go in on Thursday or Friday, beat the Friday crowd, get it a day early, and get the freshest. But anyway, let's see. I appreciate the question. I'm trying to think of, I mean, there are other chefs that I like. I'm not a fan at all of Guy Ferreira or whatever the fuck his name is. I think he's a big douche, and I think most people think he's a douche. Though he's done really well. I mean, he got himself on a show. I kind of like Bobby Flay. Bobby Flay has a lot of cool stuff where he'll, you know, I remember watching him on Food Network where he'd go and do food challenges against people on the street. And I thought that was pretty cool. But what else was there? Julia Childs, of course, classic stuff. Damn it, who's the other chef I'm trying to think of? Oh, well, Alton Brown, obviously. And Alton is the man. I don't care who you are. You know, when it comes to cooking, Alton Brown changed the way we all look at food and cooking. To me, he's like the Bill Nye of food, and he breaks everything down into scientific terms. He made it fun and interesting and entertaining to watch as he breaks down. I mean, Good Eats is still one of my favorite shows, and I love going back and watching all the reruns. Thought he just did such a good job with that. And then, of course, now he's on a bunch of other television shows. You can follow him on Facebook and all these other places. So that's cool. Anyway, those are my favorite chefs. It would probably be top would be like Anthony Bourdain and Alton Brown, really. And I really don't know any other new chefs or, you know, futuristic, you know, really awesome people that are out right now. I just go with the diehards, the ones that I grew up admiring and watching. But thanks so much for the question, Craig. Alright, so, topics. I really don't have a whole lot to talk about today, honestly. I just had those 2 questions to kind of bang through, but I want to try to be more consistent and make sure I have these videos out on time. And so I've been working really hard doing some video editing. I mean, I just created a new outro for my videos. I'm trying to work on some new intros. Like, I need one for this video series for the Tall Can Tuesdays. I need something cool for the Catching a Buzz videos, things like that. So now that I've tackled outros, I'm going to try to work on intros and see if I can make something really cool happen with that. But again, the only other topic I really wanted to talk about today is Star Wars. Part of the reason why I'm wearing this shirt today. You know, I've waited a long time, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, I'm sorry, but there's going to be spoilers in this one. I want to talk a little bit more in depth about my opinions and what I thought of the movie. And so before I delve into that too much, I'm going to go ahead and take another swig, give you another chance to click away if you want to not get, you know, anything spoiled for you. So go ahead. Alright, so Star Wars overall, I really thought it was an awesome movie, and I think it lived up for the most part to my hype, to my expectation, what I built it up to be, and I have a lot of conflicting. I mean, there's a lot of faults that I found with the movie, a lot of things that I thought made it suck, but despite it all, I still thought it was really awesome by itself. If you just look at it and you forget all your history and everything else you know about Star Wars and all the 30 years of watching Star Wars and reading books and all that, and if you just focus on this, it was a pretty good movie. Otherwise, man, there were so many holes in it. But I'll start by saying that all of the characters were really well picked. I think everyone played their role really well. Rey was awesome. She was a really cool female lead role. I mean, a very strong-willed kind of person, cool attitude. Of course, the black dude that was the janitor from the ship that ended up becoming a stormtrooper and found his way out. I thought he was kind of a funny character added in. So much better of a character for humor than Jar Jar Binks. Fuck Jar Jar Binks. That guy, he was a fucking retard. I hated that character. I thought it was the worst thing George Lucas ever did. And my brother tries to compare the Ewoks to Jar Jar sometimes, and I'm like, I don't care. Maybe you thought the Ewoks sucked when you were a teenager and I was young, but, you know, I loved the Ewoks, and I think they're 100 times better than Jar Jar ever was in those new movies. But anyway, I don't know. There's just, literally, this new movie was almost like an exact copy of the first movie, of the original, of A New Hope, or which would be Episode 4, I guess, if you're going to go by that standard. So, I mean, it was an exact rip-off. Everything. When you look at the girl who's found she's on this desolate planet. She was left there by her parents on some little strange world where she had to learn everything, and I mean, had to live in a desert. And man, I can't get into it. There's just, I'll have to see. Maybe I can find the link and I'll put it down in the description if I can. There was somebody who did it perfect, where they really broke it down and they gave you all of the examples of how this new movie was just a straight copy of the original. And I gotta say, I mean, as much as I liked the movie, I watched that and I said, man, he's got it right. It pretty much is an exact copy of the movie. That's pretty sad. So, I don't know. That was a big disappointment, man. There were a few things that sucked. I mean, how in the hell? She'd have to be super powerful in the Force. Not even Luke. None of those people ever really were able to, you know, use their powers so fast that they instantly understood how to block people reading their minds and knew how to use the voice, how to influence somebody to do something just by telling them. I mean, how did she figure any of this stuff out? How did she figure out how to fight with a lightsaber? Maybe there's going to be some grand, you know, story about how she's this, you know, big chosen one. Which also leads into other issues that I've had with some, you know, some people were telling me all about feminism, and I agree that, okay, so, you know, maybe this is one of those situations where they're just trying to make this female character super powerful and super strong, but I mean, really, she just, I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense to me how she's able to just do what she does, like fight somebody, even though the guy they picked, Kylo Ren, as the bad guy, was a pussy. I mean, he really sucked. He obviously is just a weak apprentice, a very beginning apprentice who doesn't know much about anything. You know, he couldn't even beat somebody who had never fought with a lightsaber, had never held a lightsaber in her hand, and he was beaten by her. I mean, come on. And how are you going to kill Han by, I mean, Jesus, man. That really, like, blew me. I loved the story and all, but I'm like, you really had to let him kill him like that, in that way. So, I don't know, man. All in all, I think it's a great movie. It's definitely worth watching, and especially if you're somebody who's never watched the original trilogy and you don't know what's going on, then you'll probably really love this movie. For somebody like me, I really love it, and I'm fighting constantly to just forget all the voices and not listen to all of the stuff I remember from the original trilogy and even the prequels that they did, because it was just such a butchering of this one. But anyway, again, that's all I really had to talk about with this one. I just kind of, I've been dying to share some of my opinions on this movie for a little while now, and so I figured I've waited long enough. It's time to share it with all of you. But anyway, we have reached the end of this discussion. I got another gulp or two left. Hopefully I've kept it within that 20-minute mark or so. But again, this one's for all of you. Thanks for all of your support. Appreciate you watching. Don't forget, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, or suggestion, things you'd like to leave down below in the description. I'll be sure to read them and get to them in next week's video. And, you know, again, I appreciate it. I couldn't do this without all of you. Ever since I did that stupid Powerball thing on Facebook and whatever, and I've been really trying to dedicate myself to improving and making my videos better. You know, subscribers have been rising up, and people have been following along on Facebook a lot better, and I'm really thankful for that. I'm looking forward to this year. It's going to be good for this channel. We're going to do some good things. But again, thank you so much for watching, and cheers. This one's for you. Stouts are definitely not chugging beers, but, you know, I kind of wanted to try to get through this one a little bit quicker than some of the other videos I've done. I don't know how well I've done because my stupid camera doesn't tell me. But anyway, again, guys, I appreciate all of your support. Don't forget, you can join me on all the various social networking sites, from Instagram, Google+, Twitter, Facebook if you play video games. I'm on the Steam Network, and if you're a connoisseur of fine craft beers, you can follow me on UNTAPPED, where I've tried many beers. I think close to 300 beers over the last year and a half, 2 years or so. But anyway, again, I hope you guys all have a great week, and as always, stay toasty, my friends.